New year and it's 2020. I'm so excited that you're here with me today or you're watching the replay. Either way, I am really happy to have you here. So welcome. If you don't know who I am, I'm Julia Campbell. This is my page. This is my office. It's a brand new year. I'm super excited. I like to think that 2020 marks a new decade. And for all of those of you that say, well, technically, like my husband, technically the new decade starts in 2021. Guess what? Every year is the end of a decade, technically, right? So we're celebrating the end of a decade, whether it be the one that started in 2000 or the one that started in 99. I don't know. Both of those were amazing years. So let's get started. So I really am excited about 2020 because it marks the 10th year of of having my business and being a solo business owner, being self-employed and going off on my own. So that's very exciting. In March, it will mark 10 years, which I can't believe it because that means my daughter is 10 years old because I started the business when she was 6 months old. Also, I would love if you take a minute to share this with any friends and family and colleagues or tag people that you think might benefit from it. That would really help me spread the word and get the ideas out to more people. Also, let's see. I hope you are rested and rejuvenated, relaxed. I hope you were able to take some time off. I hope that the new year has been good to you, whether you're making resolutions or goals or whether you're just kind of relaxing and seeing what comes next. And I believe in resolutions. Resolutions get a bad rap. Everyone says, don't make resolutions, you should make goals, or don't make goals, you should make objectives, or I don't know what people say. So I think of resolutions as sort of big picture things that we're trying to work on. And certainly we can drill down and make them actionable and attach strategies and tasks to each of them. As you know, I like to do, but that's not what we're going to do today. We're going to be very big picture. I have a worksheet that you can use if you're doing any planning at your organization. It's at jcsocialmarketing.com/planning. I will put it in the comments for you if you want to download that. So let's dive right in. The issue with 2020 is that I know, and I think, and I've seen, and I've just felt it's going to be increasingly challenging for nonprofits to, one, stick to their messaging without delving into the horrific political climate that's about to ensue and is ensuing. And two, we are going to start shutting down even more as humans because when the political climate heats up, especially in the United States, I'm talking about the United States, I think everyone is just fatigued at this point and the entire world with news. But when the election starts taking over our news feed, I think that rather than just making it harder to quote unquote cut through the clutter, we'll talk about that today. Oh, thanks, Erin. Congrats on 10 years. Thank you. My business looks so different 10 years ago, but I could do a reflection on 10 years. I think maybe I'll do that this year because I haven't even taken a second to reflect. I'm always just going. But my second point was that I feel like we need to be kinder to our donors and kinder to our supporters and understand that the political climate is very triggering. It's very emotional. It's heated, and that they are probably not going to want to be bombarded with a ton of polarizing and heated communication. So that's just two of the things that I think we have to think about this year as we go into this year. But what I wanted to talk about today, I really wanted to talk about your work as nonprofit social media managers. I wrote a blog post that was really well received. I'm so happy it resonated with so many people. It's up on my blog. It's 5 habits for successful nonprofit social media managers. So some specific things you can do to improve your mental health, to improve your productivity, to improve your well-being in the new year. So that's a little bit different than resolutions. Some of it will overlap, but let's dive right in. I don't want to take up too much of your time. So my first resolution for you, and I do have some slides, but I don't think I can share slides here, which is amazing. Facebook also really has been truly Yeah, no, I can't share slides. I was able to share slides earlier, but now it looks like it's taken that feature away from me. So that's awesome. So I do have slides that go with this, and I will post them on my Facebook page. I'll post them on LinkedIn, and I'd really hoped I could use them today, but who knows why Facebook decides to do anything. So in a test, I was able to share my screen, and now they seem to have taken that away. I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. We don't need slides. Who needs slides? So we'll just have to follow along with my lovely voice, my lovely talking. If you're listening to me in the car, if you're just listening to me via audio, then even better. All right. So my number one suggested resolution for you is to completely shift our mindset and those around us around the way that digital works. So the famous quote, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Well, I really think that quote defines how we need to start looking at digital platforms and social media content. So I'm going to explain that. So on the one hand, we need to stop looking at our online communities as ATMs, and I say ATM machines, I know it's redundant, and start thinking about what we can do for them, what we can do to provide them with value. And like I said before, in this political climate, in this crazy news cycle this year, it's going to be even more important to provide them with information that's going to make them feel informed and safe and like they're making the right decision supporting us. But on the other hand, we need to make digital platforms work for us, because as we know, we are the commodity that digital platforms are selling. Our attention, our clicks, our interaction, everything that we do on Google, I don't care if it's Google or Amazon or Netflix or Twitter, you name it, Facebook, anything, Gmail, your behavior is being sold to the highest bidder. It's just happening. The privacy, the privacy is it's out of the box. It's out of the box. It's the cow is out of the barn, or the horse is out of the barn, whatever the saying is. If you have a credit card, if you have a cell phone, don't talk to me about that you're concerned about privacy. Certainly it should be used legally. I'm not saying that it should be used illegally, but the privacy horse is out of the barn. What we need to pay attention to is how can we leverage the strengths of social media platforms in our best interest? So how can we kind of take back digital rather than leaving all of the power and continuing to be that commodity for social media platforms? So there's two ways to think about it. One, what can digital platforms do for us? And then on the other hand, what can we do for our online communities to help them better understand and trust us and know us and love us? So my other thing is, in terms of a shift in mindset, really social media is a marathon. Social media success is a marathon and not a sprint. This happens a lot, unfortunately, with many of my clients, and I'm not going to call out a specific client. I would never do that. But because of our fast-paced digital culture and because of all the pressures placed on us and all the wheels we have turning and the plate spinning, we tend to try something and then it doesn't immediately work. So we write it off and we're on to the next thing. I'm completely guilty of that as well. Persistence is what really works. So that's the number one resolution, is persistence. Let's shift our mindset around the way digital works and get it to work for us. Number two, let's stop trying to cut through the clutter. I can't stand this term. Now, because you can't cut through the clutter. What you can do is create communications and build a community of people that actually want to hear from you. So you could cut through the clutter today and cause a stir if you went streaking down the middle of the street and got arrested and you were in the newspaper. That would certainly cut through the clutter. But what you want to do is you want to stop manipulating people, or thinking that you need to manipulate people, I should say. We need to stop this Don Draper mentality that we have to manipulate people's psychology in order to get them to pay attention to us. So that doesn't mean be boring. That doesn't mean be vanilla. That doesn't mean don't be creative or innovative, but be thoughtful, be intentional, stop yelling at strangers, and start preaching to the choir. I advocate this very much so. Preach to your choir, because guess what? Your choir, when they're all singing in harmony together, they're the ones that are going to recruit more people for the choir. They are your best advocates. Why do we spend so much time throwing up billboards and purchasing ads just to talk to complete and utter strangers who have no clue what we do, and 99% of them could care less about what we do? So focus on the people who've raised their hand and said, yes, they want to hear from us, and learn why, and see if they can bring some more people on board. So that brings me to number 3. Resolution number 3. Let's resolve to spend the majority of our time this year building an online community rather than sending out promotions. All right. So the two are not mutually exclusive, but the two are very, very different. So the way that you build a community on social media. Now, I'm really not trying to plug my new book, but it is coming out in February, and it's called How to Build and Mobilize a Social Media Community for Your Nonprofit in 90 days. So I've spent a lot of time talking about this and the difference between promotion and advertising and community building. There are 2 ways to do this. 1, become the go-to resource, a go-to trusted, anticipated, valuable resource to your followers, to your donors, to your fans and friends. And the second is share evidence of impact through storytelling. So create that emotional connection through storytelling. And I talk about this a lot. Now, Seth Godin talks about trust being endangered. And I read a study by Edelman that said that entering 2020, only 58% trust nonprofits in any way. And the majority of people actually don't trust institutions. They don't trust organizations. They don't trust brands. They think everyone's selling something. Everyone is a scam. Everyone's trying to, scam them and spam them, especially in today's culture of alternative facts and fake news. I really hate the word fake news, but I think as nonprofits, we have a responsibility to tell our donors what's really going on. Is this really a problem? Is this something they need to pay attention to? What's going on in our community? How can we make a difference? What do we need to pay attention to? Because I care about a lot of issues. I care about sex trafficking and violence against women and reproductive rights and homelessness. And I care about many, many issues. I don't have the time every day to sit down and read every single study that just came out, every single newspaper article. I trust the nonprofit organizations that I support to really give me the lowdown on what I need to pay attention to. I trust them. So we hold this trust, and we need to make sure that we're cultivating it and not violating it. So remember that people are only going to share your content if it's relevant to their lives, if it makes them look good. So we're not all that narcissistic, but people share information because it reflects their worldview, their passions, their interests, and they feel like it's a good reflection of their identity. And that's why people share information. So as long as we can give them the information that we want, or information that they want rather than what we want to share, they're much more likely to spread the word for us. Okay, where are we at? Number 4. Michelle McGiven-Canay, wow, that's actually my mom, everyone. I'm just calling her out. She asked a question, does this mean narrowing down our constant contact list to fans only? Okay, so 2 things about email lists. I'm struggling with this right now. Last week I sent out an email. It had a 50% open rate. 50% open rate. I don't know what was going on that day or that whatever. I sent an email out this week. It had a 6% open rate. Exact same list, nothing different really. I did the same format. I did the same everything. So we literally can't control any of the software or Gmail or the filters or the algorithms or anything else. It's completely out of our control. But what I would say around email lists is like, what's it called? Cull your email list every few months. I know one of the most successful email marketers I know, Joe Waters, who has the Selfish Giving email newsletter all about cause marketing. It's an awesome newsletter if you need a newsletter to sign up for. But he goes over his email list every 3 months and he looks and he weeds out the people that haven't opened a newsletter. So he just takes them off the list because that's going to give you better deliverability to the people that do want to hear from you. So I recommend going through, they're called cold subscribers, getting rid of cold subscribers, and even segmenting your email list. So here are the people that open my email within 10 minutes of me sending it. I'm going to send it to them first. I know Kivi LaRoe Miller does this. I hope she doesn't mind me giving away her little trade secrets, but she segments her newsletter. So she sends it like pieces out. Here are the super engaged fans. They get it 2 hours before, then this piece, because the more you have, the more interaction and open rates and clicks you have on your email, the more the Gmail will say, oh, this is a trusted sender. I'm actually going to deliver this to more inboxes. I know it's always be learning, right? Can't hate the player, hate the game. All right, so we're on number 4. I'm just looking at the comments. Brian says, I love the choir. Yes, I love it too. Why don't we preach to the choir? We should be preaching to the choir. Yay, Wyoming Community Foundation. I'm so excited to come to Wyoming. Just on a side note, I'm going to Wyoming in August. I'm going to be speaking at a conference. My family and I, we're going to make it a whole thing. I think my husband and my kids are going to come and we're going to explore Wyoming. I'm so excited. I've never been. So I'm thrilled to have you on the webinar. And Josh says, and I wish Josh could be here today, but he has to be with family today. But he says our open rates dropped from 25% last year to 5% this year overnight. Nothing changed. Okay, we're going to look into this more in 2020. This is a complete tangent. I'm going to look into email deliverability. No one will talk about it, certainly not ConvertKit you can't get anyone on the phone at Google, but we need to study this because this is happening across the board. If any of you have had this problem where your email deliverability and open rates have just absolutely plummeted for no reason, let me know. We'll do a study. Josh, you and I will do a study and then we'll do a little Facebook Live. Maybe we'll do a talk about it because it's just so important. If you can't get your email delivered, how are you even going to get your message across? It's up to us to get it opened. It's up to us to send relevant communications that resonate. I understand that if I'm sending crap and no one's opening it and marking me as a spammer, great, that's on me. But if I can't even get my email into someone's inbox who signed up to get emails from me, that bothers me. And trust me, people are bothered by that. So I know. I wish that I had that bat phone to Google to understand why they do what they do. So we'll talk about that later. All right, put a pin in that. So we're only on number 4. All right, number 4. Let's focus on building community with the right people, right? So I hear this all the time. How can I get more Facebook fans? How can I get more likes on my Facebook page? Should I have a contest? Now, contests and Facebook ads and all of that is well and good, but we need to remember, are we just sending our message out to people that want to get a free iPad or want to get concert tickets or whatever it is that you're giving away with your contest? And they're just going to unsubscribe or unfollow you or disengage when the contest is done. So don't worry about building up your numbers. I know I've worked with clients that have had 500,000 likes on their Facebook page and they get like a 1% engagement rate. And then I'll work with a tiny organization, 2,000 fans on their Facebook page, and they get like 30% engagement because they have the right people on there. So don't worry about numbers. Let's stop worrying about numbers. Also, let's just stop, like I said before, yelling into the void and hoping and thinking that someone's going to pay attention. So Jeff Brooks has an incredible must-read blog post. It's like 6 lines, but the headline is "Saying We Exist is Not Fundraising." I absolutely love it. I want to get that on a t-shirt. All right, number 5. Let's earn the right to ask for money or participation or advocacy. Let's stop saying to each other and to our boards, oh, we have a $30,000 deficit. We're just going to throw up an Indiegogo page or some kind of crowdfunding page, and the donations are going to pour in. This is by far the number one myth I dispel when I work with clients. They'll call me and they'll say, hey, I want to raise $100,000 on Indiegogo. Can we start tomorrow? And I'll say, well, what's your audience like? What's your community like? Have you built up trust? So Seth Godin, of course, again, I have to reference Seth Godin. He thinks that Kickstarter should be called Kick Finisher. And I think that's incredibly smart because I went to a talk, the two women that started the whole book series and the whole company, Good Night Stories for Rebel Girls. And they gave a talk about how to run a successful crowdfunding campaign. And they spent 90% of the talk on what you do before you even launch the campaign. You email 5 people. What did they do? Each of them emailed 10 people and they said, this is my idea. This is what we think we want to do. If we asked you for $30, do you think you would give it to us and help us spread the word? And then they asked those 10 people to tell 10 people and those people to tell 10 people. So they had this critical mass, this email list already built up before they launched the campaign on Kickstarter. So it really was called Kick Finisher. They just needed a platform to process the payments, to give everybody their incentives, to do all of that behind the scenes technology stuff. But we can't continue to think of these tools as a means, as an end in itself. They're a means to an end. Okay. A caveat though, because I know you're going to say, well, what about races? What about that Australian bushfire, the Australian bushfire campaign for the firemen and women, the firefighters in Australia that raised, I think it's on $30 million. Those had celebrities behind them, but also they were issues that were in the news, that are in the news every single day. So we're hearing about them, we're thinking about them. If you're a local organization dealing with an issue that people don't talk about or see in the news every day, it is a lot more challenging to raise money from strangers. It can certainly be done. It's just more challenging. So we can't compare ourselves to the ice bucket challenge, right? We need to stop comparing ourselves to that. All right, number 6, let's advocate for our work as social media managers. I think I talk about this in the Habits blog post, but Josh and I actually did an entire Facebook Live around how to get the respect that you deserve as a social media manager. So I have some tips for you. Number 1, you really need to explain the nature of the work to people that don't understand it. And the way that I recommend doing that is have open office hours or have info sessions, lunch and learns with your colleagues so that they can learn more about what it is you do and how they can help if they're interested. You know you're going to have those coworkers that don't care, that aren't interested, no matter what you say, they're going to say, I hate Facebook. So don't worry. Like I said, don't worry about them. Worry about the people. Don't worry about the naysayers. Worry about the people that want to learn, that are interested, that might want to help you, but they don't know how. Or this happens all the time. They might feel stupid asking you. They might feel stupid. I can't even tell you, every single time I give a talk, a brave person raises their hand and they say, this is a really stupid question, but XYZ. And then I always say, how many other people in the room have this question? And all the hands go up. So people tend to think, oh, this is a stupid question. Like, what's a hashtag? There are no stupid questions. There are no small questions. So your job is to help educate people on exactly what you're doing and why it's important and how it's going to help further the mission and how they can get involved, like giving you stories or photos or videos or sitting down with you or helping you with the content plan. So when you go to staff meetings, I always encourage development directors, marketing directors to share their plans, share their editorial calendar at the staff meeting so that everybody can see all of the moving parts that go into running these channels successfully. So show people and then say, oh, we have a lot of holes in June. I would love to sit with a few of you and try to get some stories. It just makes it more tangible rather than sending out an email to everyone and saying, oh, hey, we need some stories. Can you guys give me some stories? Yeah, I've done that before in my development marketing role, and it's crickets because it's so easy to ignore an email. It's not as easy to ignore you when you're there in front of them, showing them the work and saying why you need it. and what it's going to do. All right, so we're at number 7. All right, let's see. Oh my gosh, I think we have more comments. I just can't even keep track. Edie says, I think people were inundated with promo emails over the holidays. I personally was overwhelmed. Oh, Edie, I absolutely know. By the way, John Hayden is on the line. I'm so excited. Hi, John. How are you doing? I feel like I'm like talking to you. Okay, well, that's amazing. So shout out to John Hayden who just joined. But Edie, absolutely. I was completely inundated at the end of the year with emails that said, last chance to donate. It's midnight. I'm like, no, it's not. I could donate at 1 a.m. on January 1st and you would still take my money. If it's a matching gift, fine, I might allow it. Still, nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be inundated. I don't know. I have many thoughts on this, but sending me an email every single day towards the end of the year is not, without telling me anything, without giving me a story, without giving me a video, without showing a piece of data or a statistic, without any value to me, just asking, that's really upsetting to me. I think, wow, I mean, we don't treat our friends like this. We don't treat our family members like this. So yeah, I don't know why we think it's okay to treat our donors in this way. Also, what really bothered me, and there was a whole Twitter discussion around this, so it's kind of polarizing and controversial, but I don't like those emails that say, oh, by the way, if you've already given, just ignore this email. It's like, okay, either segment your database or, yes, I know checks get caught in the mail. You know, I don't even know what a checkbook looks like, but checks get caught in the mail, et cetera, et cetera. There's a nicer way to do it. Like, oh, if your donation, if we haven't had the time to log your donation yet and it's in the mail or it's in process and it's coming to us, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And I'm so sorry that we sent this email, but we just want to make sure that we're giving you a chance to participate by year's end. I mean, there's better language than whatever, like we don't care if we got your donation. We don't bother to like know who our donors are. Anyway, that's another topic for another day. All right, number 7. Oh my gosh, okay, we're only at 7. Let's stop worrying about things outside our control. So I'm trying to take a page from Stephen Covey's book, of course, the seminal 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He talks about the circle of concern and the circle of influence, and I think they're very important, right? So the circle of concern, all the things we care about in our personal life, and the circle, and global concerns, right? Social justice, war, a recession, everything like that. And so when I'm talking about the personal life, it could be our health. Like if we don't have control over our health, that's one thing. Our career, our relationships, things that we may or may not have a lot of control over. And then there's a circle of influence, and those are the things that we have the power to directly affect, like maybe our mood, like what we eat each day, those kinds of things, maybe what time we go to bed, what time we wake up, unless you're small children. So it's a smaller circle within this big circle of all our concerns. And it's definitely not a perfect model, but I think it's a good place for nonprofit social media managers to start. So we have to keep an eye on the big circle of concern, but let's focus more of our efforts on the things that we can affect, which is the circle of influence. All right, number 8. This is probably my favorite one. Let's stop using the word busy. I've been talking to a lot of specifically moms, my friends, and I have made, it's probably been a few months now, I have made a significant effort not to use the word busy. Busy to me implies out of control. I am my own boss, by the way. I'm self-employed. So if I'm stressed out and busy and don't have any time to take off and do all of that, obviously I have to pay the bills and I have deadlines and I have children to take care of and things like that. But if I'm so busy that I'm only getting 2 hours of sleep, or, I honestly feel like I do have control over that. I don't like the word busy. It just implies things are out of control and we have no control over things. And also, it's not a badge of honor. I don't think it's a badge of honor anymore. People are always saying things to me. They call me, hi, Tish. That's my friend Tish. Tish, we were supposed to talk last week, but you can give me a call after this, or maybe next week. Tish works for the Boys and Girls Club in Schenectady, and I'm actually coming to talk to a group in Schenectady in April. So Tish, I hope I see you. So just back to the word busy, I think that, I agree with this quote. It's not always that we need to do more, but rather that we need to focus on less. And, I can't really in just 5 minutes give you tips on how to focus on less. I can give you some books to read, and I had them on the slides, but of course I don't have the slides. One is Calm, Not Busy: How to Manage Your Nonprofit's Communications for Great Results. That's by Kivi LaRoe Miller. Another is a book called The One Thing, and another is a book called Essentialism. So I need to reread those. And I just believe that we have more control over our time than we think. So if you are frantic and busy and overwhelmed and you have way too much to do a time audit. And there's just Google time audit and lots of spreadsheets and little mini YouTube videos that you can watch, but audit your time for a week. Then compare it to your job responsibilities that you were actually hired to do. And then compare that to your organizational priorities. Like, are the things you're working on actually going to get you towards what the priorities are that you've stated for your organization? And then we need to have the hard conversations with our supervisors, with our coworkers, with our boards, that you simply cannot take on anymore. And in fact, say your supervisor says, we're going to have a crowdfunding campaign. You should say, that's fantastic, but something needs to come off my plate. I can't do 10 events this year, a crowdfunding campaign, a year-end, a Giving Tuesday, this and this and this. So it's much easier said than done. But I do believe if you're documenting everything and you have a plan in place, then you can go to your supervisor and it will be much more impactful than if you just say, I'm busy and overwhelmed all the time. Because really everybody says that. And the word busy doesn't even mean anything anymore. So let's see, where are we? Oh my gosh, I don't have my last two. I'm really a mess today. So let's see if I can look at my slides here. Oh, number 9 is very important. I think that increasing transparency and being human should be a resolution for everyone, but also especially nonprofit social media managers. Don't have a do not reply email address on your email newsletter. You have to answer those emails. It is rude not to answer emails. It's not rude to have just your standard cut and paste answer sometimes to those emails, but it's rude not to answer emails, not to answer direct messages, not to answer comments and questions. So don't be inaccessible, because then you look like a bot. That's why people don't trust brands online, because so much is automated, and I'm all for automation, but so much is humanless and soulless, right? Second, actually show that there are human beings behind your social media accounts. So using things like Instagram stories or going live, with all the warts that it entails sometimes, and just really demonstrating that there are human beings behind the work. I'm not saying you have to showcase your clients all the time, although that's always the best way to show impact. But if you can't, show your executive director or you or a board member. Show that there are people that are normal, that care about the work. People connect with faces and names. They don't connect with logos. They really want to have that human connection, and it's so important. If you can do that, you're absolutely going to be cutting through the clutter more than, say, other nonprofits in your area. And that brings me to number 10. I was going to say competitors, but number 10, your number 10 resolution is focus on collaboration and not competition. So Vu Le has a fantastic blog post called OMG, can we please stop saying there's only so much funding to go around? There is not only so much funding to go around. We're just doing a terrible job retaining donors and communicating the impact of our work to actually get people on board or get more people on board. So we need to stop looking at other nonprofits as competition and think about the ways that our missions might overlap, or maybe we can work on things together. Why do businesses do this? Businesses have, BNI, they have a chamber. Yes, sometimes nonprofits have associations, but it's never for networking. It's never to try to help each other. It's just like, what can I learn? What can I get out of this? How can I post my job? How can I post my event? How can, these people help me get what I want? It's never, how can we all help each other get what we want? And we know that as nonprofits, none of us do our work in a vacuum. Absolutely none of us. We all rely on schools or the police or other organizations. I mean, if you're dealing with the courts, if you're dealing with social workers, if you're dealing with foster care, whatever it is, you are working with other organizations. So think about a way that you can collaborate, communicate. Maybe even it's something as simple as having an accountability partner at an organization. So another development director, another marketing director that you know and like, maybe you've met, you've seen online, and just talking to them and saying, hey, can I bounce some ideas off of you? I think I really loved your campaign that you did here. What was I doing? I was with a client the other day, and they showed me an insert in the newspaper that they really liked. And it was to benefit a different organization that had nothing to do with their work. And they said, well, it's so hard to know if this worked, if it didn't work. And I said, why don't you just call them up? Just call them up and ask for the development director, marketing person. And, you're not going to ask them how much they raised necessarily unless they had a press release about it. But just say, what was your experience? Would you do it again? What do you recommend? We're thinking of doing this. What are some of the challenges? You would be so amazed how open people are. I mean, I just think about the first time I called John Hayden and asked him about building a consulting business that was going to be digital marketing for nonprofits. And he could have told me, no, that'll never work. Don't do that. But instead, he talked to me for an hour about what he had done and his recommendations, other people I should talk to, other resources. Those are the people that the people that give more than they take. And same for the nonprofits. The people that end up giving more are the ones that are really going to create lasting impact and really lasting relationships with people. So just if you see a campaign that you like, you get a fundraising letter that you like, call up the organization and ask them. Make sure you have a set of questions because they're probably very busy, right? At the end of the day. Okay. Oh, Tish says, I love what you're talking about right now. Busy. If there is a busy woman out there, it's definitely Tish. And then of course, Michelle. It's a form of avoidance. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts about, I don't know, every time I listen to a podcast that interviews some kind of online entrepreneur, the movement really is to stop the word like hustle and stop the word busy. Because when someone approaches me and says, I want to have coffee with you, I usually, it completely depends, but I usually say, I just have too much on my plate right now. And if I have coffee, it's going to take away from other things, right? So I'm just really honest. It's more like I can't have an informational phone call with everybody that wants to have an informational phone call with me. I can't have coffee with everybody, and nobody can possibly agree to all the things that people want them to do. So just be really clear on your priorities and make sure that things are matching up with your priorities. Kelly says, can you say Kivy LaRoe Miller's name again? Yay. And our community already responded. She's fantastic. That's calm, not busy. Julie says, richly scheduled is the new busy. Wait, richly scheduled, but then also you said overbooked, but then also that makes me feel like it looks bad on me to say I'm overbooked. I like richly scheduled. I also just like no. How about no? we could do many more episodes on how to say no nicely and how to set boundaries. All right. So that's all that I have. Thank you for bearing with me for 45 minutes. I hope you got a lot out of it. If you want the planning worksheet, I will put that link in the comments. And thank you for that little hiccup if you went to that other link and it didn't work. But it's never a dull moment when I when I try to go live or try to use technology in any way. I'm shocked that my computer, I was recording a podcast with Virtuous CRM, and literally we were on Zoom and my entire computer froze and decided to restart. So that was fun. So at least that didn't happen today, but we all know the tech gods have it out for me, but hopefully 2020 will be a little bit better. So thanks so much. I'm not sure when the next one is. Hopefully Josh will join me. We can do another nonprofit nerd session. I'm looking forward to hearing your resolutions, what you have to say, what you have to think, what you're struggling with. So leave a comment or send me a direct message, and I will talk to you all soon. All right, take care. Have a great weekend.